What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of SEC State of Mind presented by FanDuel. I'm Taylor Davis. He is Jason Campbell. What's up, everyone? Welcome into another week and officially the end of football season, which is always bittersweet. I know my hoops people, my baseball people are especially excited, but if you're a football fan, this is a somber week because it is done for the foreseeable future. But we will get you caught up on everything that's been happening around the SEC and a brief update on basketball and baseball season with opening day just a couple days away. So welcome in, everyone. Hope you've had a great week. One thing that I want to start out with, Jay, and we're just going to dive right in here because this is going to be a shorter episode than we typically do, but we did not discuss on our last episode that the ruling officially came out in regards to the college football playoff format, because obviously there was yet another deadline extended to the end of January for the decision among the respective commissioners and the college football playoff committee and what have you in regards to expanding from the 12-team playoff format. There was debate around it, talk about it. Would it be 16? Would it be 24? The decision has been made to keep it at 12 teams for 2026, with the potential that expansion is still in conversation. But they basically opted to have one more year to kind of evaluate this thing as a 12-team format. Some rule adjustments that are going to impact said 12, but just kind of want to start with that as I welcome in Jay Cam. And this past season in particular, Jay kind of forced everyone's hand in evaluation of the college football playoff format with a lot of potentially controversial decisions that were made, regardless how you look at it. Were you surprised that we ultimately stayed with the 12 team, given what all transpired at the end of last season?
I'm always surprised because we live in an element of today where things are always changing, right? So
Yeah.
it's like there's no continuity of being able to prepare your mindset to what's to come, because it's forever changing.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that it stayed at 12. I would have
Me
thought they
too.
probably was shooting to go to 16, just because of if the format is still the same as 12, that you still got to get two um what do they call it, G5 per se. If you still got to put two G5 teams in there, then I think we all saw the result of that this year and how that played. Like, no one was really interested in seeing those type of matchups that was completely blowouts, right? Like, if you was to keep it at 12, but you picking the 12 best teams, now it's a different story.
Mhm.
Like, the only reason the conversation came up for 16 teams was because the 12 best teams wasn't picked.
Right.
But if the 12 best teams were picked, no one would have had a problem with the 12 team format. So
Mhm.
it all depends on how they're going to operate within the 12 teams. And if it's still the same as they did last year, then that's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Mhm.
But if they say we're just going to take the top 12 teams, period, regardless of having to put G5 in there or not, we just taking the 12 best teams, then I'm good with it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, here are some of the rules around that. So, all Power Four conference champions are guaranteed a spot, not guaranteed a top four, but guaranteed a spot. So, the issue surrounding the ACC being left out, the ACC champion this past season, would be no more. Duke would have been in with this new ruling. So, all P4 conference champions will get a spot, along with the highest ranked conference champion out of the group of six, because we are also about to welcome in the new look Pac 12 with teams like Boise State joining the revamped Pac 12. So it will now be the group of six, and the highest ranked conference champion out of those is automatically going to get a spot, along with the four Power Four conference champions. So there's a guaranteed five right there. A real kicker for me is that Notre Dame, as long as they finish the season in the top 12, they are automatically offered a bid. As a team that does not belong in a conference and that will be sitting and resting during conference championship week, as long as they finish in the top 12, they will automatically be in. I do have a problem with that. I do think that the Power Four conference champions being guaranteed a spot, to me, doesn't fix the problem that I thought we had. Like, to me, I thought the group of five automatic bid, was potentially going to be on the table, but I thought we showed last year four conference champions could be all you need, but they're going to expand it and try and keep the group of six element in there. And what this ultimately is also coming down to is the Big Ten and the SEC are kind of in a standoff. Okay. No one's surprised by that. The commissioners kind of have a standoff, like the conferences, and there's a tug of war right now in terms of who is the premier league in college football. And that debate is continuing to strike itself. But they basically are wanting to evaluate, specifically the Big Ten, how are the ACC and the SEC going to be evaluated by the committee now that they are about to go to a 9 league opponent schedule? They are about to have 9 conference opponents in their schedules now. So you are going to see an increase in 2 and 3 loss teams that are in the conversation at the end of season because of how many of their league opponents they are facing within a season. And specifically for the SEC, we all know that means you're increasing the difficulty of your schedule. You're going to take away a South Alabama from the equation. No disrespect, but like just an example. So the Big Ten is going, all right, if they're about to go to a 9 league opponent schedule, how is that going to shape the committee's evaluation of them? Is that going to change how they view a 3 loss team, considering the difficulty that you are facing week in and week out going up against conference opponents? Having a year to kind of reevaluate that portion of it, I think, is going to be at play before they potentially go to a 16 team. It also is kind of in a standstill because they are essentially open to a 16 team, but the Big Ten is pushing for 24 to be guaranteed, or 20, excuse me, to be guaranteed in 3 years. And the SEC, Greg Sankey, is going, nah, we're not agreeing to that yet. So there's just still a lot of, moving pieces and still a lot of tug of war is the best way that I can think to describe it. But I'm just unsure about the guaranteed Power Four conferences, which I guess does play into the amount of league opponents that you're going to have in your schedule. The guaranteed group of 6, and Notre Dame guaranteed to be in as long as they make the top 12. Like, to me, there's still a bit of a discrepancy when you're going to look at strength of schedule and therefore strength of record.
Well, the Notre Dame one surprises me, really, because top 12, like it needs to be defined a little bit more. How about top
Mhm.
8 since you don't play the conference championship? Like top 8, I get it, but your
Yeah.
top 8, your schedule has to be within the top 25 of college football scheduling. Like it can't
Mhm.
be your schedule is ranked 50 something in the nation, or you have the 60th ranked schedule in the nation. Like, no,
Right.
like your schedule, if you're gonna get an automatic bid, if you finish in the top 12, then your schedule needs to be top 20 at least in scheduling ranks.
Yeah.
If you want to be top, if you had to be top 10 to get in, then I'll give you a little bit of cushion. Say your schedule needs to be top 25, the
Mhm.
top 30. But who they schedule is going to be very unique because their AD is going to schedule to make sure that they finish in the top 12.
Right.
So it should have been some rules and regulations on how they have to do their scheduling in order for them to get these automatic bids as well. It's
Yeah.
not you get a chance to play cupcake scheduling and you play a few teams and all of a sudden you automatic bid into the playoffs. Like that's
Right.
not fair to the Big Ten, the SEC, or even the ACC or Big 12. Any of those teams that have to play more teams within their conference and then schedule a one big team outside of your conference play.
Yeah.
So technically, these schools are playing 10 big time schools out of their 12 game scheduling because you still have that one schedule. Like, for example, if Ohio State was to play, Texas next year, right? And then Texas still have a 9 game schedule, that's really 10 big games they're playing.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about Auburn's playing Baylor, right? Okay, then you still had to play a 9 game SEC schedule. That's 10.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like the LSU Clemson matchups. Like so technically those schools are playing 10 games that are like big time opponents.
Mhm.
So that one shocked me because unless they put some rules and stipulations on how their schedule has to be ranked within the nation,
Yeah.
then you're really just doing this to make money and give a TV brand deals because that's what it comes down to at that point. Because everyone's talking about how everybody would have watched Notre Dame last year. Yeah, no
Mhm.
doubt you would have watched them. But at the end of the day, their schedule is the reason they didn't get in.
Yeah.
So they have to fix that part of it. And they lost to Texas A&M and they lost to Miami the first game of the
Mhm.
year.
Mhm.
So You can't put them in if they lost to two teams that, and the one team barely made it in was Miami, but they beat you. So
I know.
we'll see what happens. But in order to move forward, you got to fix what's first, and you got to
Yeah,
fix the 12-team playoff before you can move forward to 16. So I
true.
like the decision to stay at 12. Let's just see how it works out.
I would agree. The schedule is also going to be interesting. The championship game next year is going to be January 25th. It will be the latest national championship in FBS history. So, a lot of coaches are also expressing a lot of frustration with the structuring of the postseason in particular. There will be an extended stretch for the teams that do ultimately make the playoff before they end up playing. So, some scheduling conflicts as well. So, once again, just a lot to continue to hopefully work out. But this is kind of where things sit as we all prepare for 2026 now that the past season is officially over. But
I just got one thing to say on that, Taylor.
uh huh.
So imagine you doing your job, right? You're calling games, and say you get in a rhythm and you're flowing, right? And
Hmm.
you and your commentators and y'all are on it.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, oh, we got 6 weeks before we tee it up again.
No, it's awful.
You will lose your rhythm,
Yeah.
your chemistry. Like it would take you a little bit of time to get that back.
Right.
And I don't understand. Instead of extending it, you should have moved everything up a week and a half.
Agreed.
Like the championship game should have been played no later than the mid second week
Hmm.
of January.
Hmm.
Because school starts back for most universities starting that second week in January.
Hmm.
So the game should have been ending at that time. We're now getting into the NFL type of scheduling
Right.
and everything when we're pushing it back that far. So I just don't like it because you may lose the touch of really good football
Yeah.
because the longevity of sitting out could cost you chemistry and everything with a lot of these kids.
Completely agree. Yeah, that's the only way that I can kind of understand it, but you're 100% right. Like coming to a halt with something that is so rhythmic and timing centered that could be very very much a disadvantage and I like we're all equipped to start season with week 0. Like why we don't just automatically bump that up, I've never really understood. So, anywho, we'll see what this next year kind of does as a sample for moving forward, but 12 teams it'll be and hopefully, several of those will be the SEC. Spring ball is probably a month away, a little bit less for majority of these programs that already start planning for the next year. You have to, right? But one storyline that I wanted to touch on real quick, we'll obviously get into more spring ball headlines when it gets here. There are a couple programs, I mean, there are several programs, but there are really a couple that have a massive question mark with the quarterback situation because both are basically in dealings with the NCAA trying to get another year of eligibility, and both are major impact guys. And so I'm talking about Tennessee's Joey Aguilar and Ole Miss Trinidad Chambliss. Every time I think that that one is done, the NCAA is like, no, denied, medical waiver denied, JUCO ruling denied. Like they keep knocking it down, and Ole Miss continually comes back with another caveat. And they have recently filed yet another reconsideration to the NCAA, which I was reading up on that. And that apparently means if you file something as a reconsideration, it means that you have new evidence to support your claim of a medical
Mm.
red shirt waiver, what have you. And so the potential that Trinidad Chambliss returns is still not off the table, even though we know that Deuce Knight has headed to Oxford and probably was very expectant that Trinidad's answer was no. Same thing with Tennessee. Joey Aguilar really ran that thing a lot better than anyone expected, especially with all of the drama last offseason surrounding Nico's departure. They're still trying to get him another year of eligibility. And so while there's going to be quarterback competition for a lot of these programs and you don't necessarily know for sure who your guy's going to be, Alabama obviously has some youth that they're going to have to feel out. We know Gunnar Stockton's returning. Sam Levitt heads to LSU. Auburn has Byron Brown. But for these two programs in particular, this isn't just having a question mark at quarterback. This is your massive presence, a face of your program, going to be there or not? And we are watching the clock tick towards spring ball. And so I just wanted to tee up that conversation to you because, like, you know the impact of that position, and you know the impact of having returners like that and guys that have had success and would have the opportunity to build on it with those guys in that locker room. And it's never too early to start that. Spring ball is very important. Heck, winter workouts are important. Having a question mark that big at this time of year, just your thoughts on the challenges of that.
That's a great question. Great insight as well. I say this: when you think about trying to be able to be at your best, you have to be all the way in. You can't be straddle the fence or I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
And right now, both of these schools are in a situation where Ole Miss is kind of in a better situation because they got Deuce Knight, right? So they're
Mhm.
like, okay, if Shamlis doesn't come back, we got a young talented kid that we can just roll with. And but if he does come back, that gives us experience and it's gonna put seats in the stands,
Right.
right? Because Shamlis had a big year, right? And for Shamlis, I'm probably sure he's looking at it from a personal standpoint of it's financially beneficial for him probably to come back for another year, right? He'll make a few $1 million at Ole Miss and then have a shot to go to the NFL. But if he doesn't, he's still gonna get drafted pretty good this year
Yeah.
and go on to the NFL. It, everyone knows Tahaj Pettiford, right? That plays point guard for Auburn. I think a lot of his struggles this year has come because the simple fact that he stayed in the NBA draft opportunity all the way to the last day, right?
Mhm.
So he kept going to all these different camps that the NBA puts on to position guys to see where they're gonna get drafted at, and all his focus was on that. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the last day, he decided I'm gonna come back to Auburn. And when he decided to come back to Auburn, you miss 2.5 months or maybe even 3 at that time of training with your guys that was already there, that was essentially a whole new basketball team,
Right.
right? But you are the leader. So he's Trinidad Shamlis. He's,
Mhm.
Aguilar, so
Yeah.
that's who he is. He's the leader when you're the quarterback. So if you're not around your guys, they don't see you in the locker room. You're not working out with them right now. You're not training. You got new offensive coordinators for Ole Miss, so you're not even there learning a new playbook. The guy that called your plays last year is at LSU.
Right.
So you're technically have to relearn everything, and you got to speed the process up if they do allow you to come back because spring ball starts in a month.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you've missed out on the opportunity to throw the ball. So would that create some rust going into this year's his last year? So
Yeah.
I'm just like, is it beneficial for you at this point to come back, or is it more beneficial for you at this point to just say, I'm gonna go ahead and go into the National Football League? I had a
Right.
stellar year this past year, and Ole Miss had their best season in history. So why not just ride off with that and just go on to the National Football League because it's not a deep quarterback draft this year. So
It's
I'm
true.
sure you would be probably the third quarterback to come off the board. So why not go now? And instead of risk coming back, having to learn a new offense, learn new receivers. A lot of those guys left last year. New offensive line, all these new pieces. You don't know how that's going to work out for you, and especially since you haven't been there, you've already missed a month and everything. And the fact that he'll probably get the only way he gets it is because I guess the judge is making a decision on his case. If you really read up on it, went to law school at Ole Miss.
Mhm.
So what's the chances of that judge denying Trinidad Shamlis that opportunity?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one piece of it. I don't know how they got that to happen, but they did it. With, in Tennessee's case, I don't know if they have a backup plan or whatever, but at some point, though, Taylor, we can't have 25 and 26-year-olds still in college playing football.
Right.
We got to fix that issue. At the end of the day, I understand guys want to stay in. You got guys trying to come out of the G League to come back to college now. All of a sudden, before, you didn't want to stay in college when you had the chance because you were chasing money. You know what I'm saying? And then it didn't work out. You're not playing in the NBA, but now you want to come back and play in college with a bunch of teenagers and everything after you've been basically semi-pro for the last year or two. So
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, what are we really doing? Because you're hurting the high school kids, but then you're having high school kids go play against 26, 27-year-olds in college that's supposed to be grown men. Either you playing on Sundays or you playing the NBA or you just at home doing something else. But at the end
Right.
of the day, you can't just continue to stay in college, and it's all about trying to get money. At the end of the day is really why you're trying to stay in college. Because last time I checked, everybody else was trying to get out of there. Now
I
it's
know.
trying to get back there. So
Right.
what
I
are we
if
doing?
you touch a professional level of your sport, you're done. Like
Yeah,
you give up any potential eligibility that still existed if you play an idiom of professional league. Like to me, that conversation around the guy that's been playing for the Hornets that like now wants to go. Are you kidding? No. Like that doesn't even make sense to me for that to be an option. And it's a bigger indicator of the crazy amount, like an exorbitant amount of money. Like no major league baseball player would voluntarily go back down to the minor leagues. Like
all right.
what? Because there should be a jump in resources and opportunities in level of lifestyle that should be the ultimate growth. But like now we're in situations where you could go play one league 1 year at Texas Tech and make $5 million as a quarterback. So like it is appealing, but that's going to have to be a rule that they come down on. Like if you play a snap, if you dribble a ball, if you let one pitch come by you at the professional level, like your collegiate eligibility is no longer valid. It does not matter. That is a crazy conversation that we are even having. But yeah, I'm sure Ole Miss fans are yelling at you for the argument that Trinidad should just go to the league. I know they all are hoping that he's able to come back, but from an individual perspective, I hear you, and I do think that the more that this lingers for guys like Aguilar and Chambliss, the more challenging it becomes because also are they training for the league right now? I would imagine that they're somewhere with a coach
Combine is
preparing.
fun.
Yeah, so like you have to have your foot in one canoe. You can't continue to wade in this limbo or else you're going to be, hindering yourself in either way that you go. And I do think even for guys like Deuce Knight that don't ultimately know, what does my role really look like next year? And again, you should always be pursuing it like you're going to be the starter because Trinidad may get approved and something crazy happens, So that can't be the ultimate decision maker, but it is very interesting to me that two of the biggest names in the SEC for two of the biggest brands in the SEC, especially for Ole Miss coming off of a historic year, is still kind of in the balance and in the hands of the NCAA. And we're sitting here probably 3 weeks away from spring ball. So very interesting storylines to continue to follow. But with the end of football season, obviously collegiate's been done for a little while, but the NFL came to a close this past weekend as well. A lot of eyes on basketball because anyone that was focused on football is desperate for something to watch. And so it's an exciting time as we get closer to March Madness as well. And all of these teams are going to have to start separating themselves. And as we've said, the SEC's parity this year and the continuation of teams jumping each other in the rankings continues. Now Florida does still sit in the top spot. Florida is kind of starting to pull away from the herd a little bit, but very much still a potential to slip. They do have to play Kentucky on Saturday, and Kentucky now sits at number 2, Arkansas at 3, Texas A&M at 4, and Vandy at 5. Even though Vandy just got upset by Oklahoma, which was definitely not expected. But now every team in the league has won at least 2 SEC games. Once again, going to make this SEC tournament incredibly impressive. The kind of unpredictability of things, it sets you up to really learn a whole lot about your team and your league. So as we get closer to tournament play and ultimately March Madness, any team that you really think could end up surprising people, I just rattled off the top 5, but I mean, it's not too late for some of these teams to kind of gain steam.
Man, I've been watching basketball. I'm a basketball fan. If a lot of people don't know, like it
Hmm.
was just as much love for it in high school as it was for football.
Yeah,
And I watch a lot of these games. I saw the Arizona Kansas game the other night. Incredible, right? When you think about Duke, North Carolina the other night,
that
incredible,
was crazy.
right? So many of these games are coming down to the end.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch. When
Hmm.
I watch the entirety of the SEC, to me, it's going to come down to who can who can last the longest as far as like without getting fatigue.
Right.
Because you're playing such a tough schedule. There's no off nights. If you look at the pack, like one game separates you from number 2 in the league to number 4 in the league.
Right.
Um, and you're battling for positioning when it comes to when you make the NCAA tournament, right? Like who gets in, who gets out,
Yeah.
and all these things matter. You think about Florida, they're big, right? So you expect Florida to be there. Their size, like they can just wear you down. When you think about Kentucky, and Tennessee, Tennessee's long and big. But
Hmm.
Tennessee has had an up and down. And one weekend they look great, the next weekend, they're just okay.
Yeah.
But they lost it to Kentucky twice this year. So when you think about basketball as a whole, Alabama went 3-2 with the G League guy. What's his name? Biaka, I think it is something like that.
Probably.
Who knows? It's probably. But when you think about him, right? They was 3-2 with him. Now all of a sudden he's ruled ineligible. So
Oh,
now,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so now he's ruled ineligible. So now their team changes again, right? So now you go back to more of the run and shoot, fast, shooting the ball from the outside is what they want to do anyways. But you take away the rim blocker, you take away the big rebounder down inside. That changes their team a little bit.
Hmm.
Auburn, Auburn to get up and they got hot for a minute and then they lost 2 games here closely. You lose to Tennessee and then you lose to Alabama, a game at home on Saturday. And you was up in that game at halftime. And they was up against A&M at halftime. And they, at home, which typically doesn't happen to them, they found a way to give away 2 games that I know they wish they had back when you think about the A&M game and A&M game and the Alabama game.
Yeah.
But when I look at this thing as a whole, Arkansas, they're very streaky, right? Like that's a team that they can get really hot. They got experience on that side of the ball. But Kentucky walked into Arkansas and whooped some tail.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. I really just can't sit here and take Vanderbilt looks good one weekend and they lose to Oklahoma.
Right.
Like Texas competes, but they just can't get themselves over the hump.
Right.
And South Carolina's not a bad team, but they're probably not gonna make the tournament,
Yeah.
right? Just because they play in a tough schedule. So when you look at and you listen to all the basketball people when I'm watching ESPN and all these different people, right? Everyone still says the SEC is the number one conference in basketball from top to bottom,
Hmm.
right? Now you have a lot of teams like an ACC that's front loaded, Big 12 front loaded.
Yeah.
They got some stellar teams, but from top to bottom, they list the SEC. So right now, teams are battling for position to get themselves in the tournament, but they're battling for position also in that SEC tournament because whoever you decide to face that first night or that second night, it's going to be a big deal for teams that's trying to get into the NCAA tournament. So
Absolutely.
this next month, when you said March Madness, I'm like, oh my gosh, dang, we almost in March. Like I realized, like, yeah, March is next month. Like it's kind of fast. So it's gonna be a lot, spring ball, March Madness. Oh my gosh!
It's
So at the
crazy.
end of the day, it's crazy right now of how everything is kind of getting pushed together.
Yeah.
But I'm extremely excited to see what happens, man. It really gives us a lot of fun to watch, and I've been paying attention.
I like it. I like it. I feel like Kentucky's on to something right now. They've got so much excitement. I really like Pope. There's just a good vibe around that team right now. But that matchup with Florida is going to be huge this weekend. So excited to see that one. Also happening this weekend. Let's just add another thing to the list. It's almost baseball time, y'all. The 13th is opening day for NCAA baseball. So if you're around any of the teams having home games this weekend, go enjoy some baseball. It's crazy that we're already here, but once again, an expectation of a huge year for the SEC, and as continues to be the case, typically having a very strong showing in Omaha. So we'll see how things kind of get going. The preseason coaches poll has been released, and that kind of has a gauge of what the experts are kind of eyeing, and obviously the people close to the situation. They've got LSU projected at 1, Texas 2, Mississippi State 3, Arkansas 4, Auburn at 5. Now, there are some other rankings, national rankings, that have Tennessee in the fold, Arkansas a little bit higher, Mississippi State not in the top 5. So kind of remains to be seen, but does seem pretty confident that LSU is going to be having a big year. Obviously, Jay Johnson has got that program going in such a great direction. I believe 55-13. So a lot of expectation for a great year from them, as well as Texas sitting up there at number 2. So super excited because that also means that The warm weather is coming. Like, there's just nothing better than the days getting longer, going to the ballpark, watching some baseball. Like, that's such a fun time of year. So, really excited to see what the SEC is able to do this year in baseball, and hopefully a lot of teams will end the year in Omaha again.
Tell you what, it's exciting, right? I'm not a big fan of preseason rankings.
I know,
Like,
in any sport.
but it gets you, yeah, in any sport, but it gets
Yeah.
people excited. It gets coaches fired. If you got these high preseason rankings and it doesn't live up to
Doesn't
it,
pan out. Yeah,
everybody's looking like, "Yo, what happened? You had a
that's true.
preseason." Like, so if I'm a coach, I'm like, "Don't rank me in top 5." But it happens, all right? So it puts more pressure on teams that if they're not ready, they got to start off fast
It's true.
and everything. I'm really excited as well, when it comes to women's sports. We
Mhm.
talk about right now gymnastics. The SEC is always big in gymnastics, and you'll talk more about that.
Sure
But
will.
I do get a chance to watch them on TV as well. And when you think about SEC women's basketball, like South Carolina is still dominant.
Mhm.
LSU is still up there. You think about Texas, they're still, the coach there was at Mississippi State the years they went to back-to-back national championship games.
Mhm.
So that league is still strong from that standpoint. But as a whole, when you talk about all the things that spring ball kind of gets lost, right? With a lot of sports because football is so long now,
Yeah.
and then basketball is like we're in mid-season.
Mhm.
Like they played 20 games already.
I know.
It's like what? Like I
It
feel like we hadn't
flies.
talked about it. Like football season just ended
I know.
basically 2 weeks ago.
I know.
But it's so much to look forward to. But I am excited about this baseball season. We'll see what happens. A lot of teams, LSU went on a run last year. It's not like they was picked in the middle of the year to make it, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden at the end of the year they just went on a run. Like
Yeah.
they got hot, and so we'll see. Like Arkansas have been there in baseball, and their hearts gotten crushed each time right
Yep.
there at the finale.
Seems to happen. How
So
about
we'll
that?
see what the Hogs have an opportunity this year to position themselves back and see what Coach Butch Thompson down at Auburn.
Yeah.
Those guys rolling. Last year they had a good season, had a heartbreaker loss at home in playoffs, but we'll see how they rebound this year after their offseason good pickups.
Yeah, there's been great recruiting happening around Auburn. So, very excited to see all of that. Like Jay mentioned, SEC gymnastics. I obviously work on gymnastics as well for ESPN. I'm the sideline reporter for NCAA gymnastics, and we've had some really great SEC matchups and a huge one this weekend. LSU, or not LSU, Florida, Oklahoma. LSU, Oklahoma is next week. So, the next 2 weeks, those are your top three teams in the SEC year in and year out. You've got insane talent on all three of those teams, and they've all got to square up in the coming weeks because we're also at the halfway point in gymnastics as well. So, a lot of teams solidifying lineups. If they're going to start working any upgrades in, now is the time. So, if you haven't been watching SEC gymnastics, I would encourage you to do that. Florida, Oklahoma is Friday night at 7 o'clock, I believe, Eastern time on ESPN2. So tune in if you can, and there's great meets happening on the SEC network as well. So no downtime, but real quick, just wanted to get Jay's thoughts on the snooze fest of a Super Bowl that we all witnessed on Sunday night. But huge congrats to the Seahawks winning 29-13. Unfortunately, the Patriots just could not get anything going. Drake May was sacked 6 times. He had 2 interceptions. They didn't score until the fourth quarter. We did see a forced fumble by our Auburn guy, Derek Hall. That was a big moment for him and super exciting to see. The Seahawks forced 8 punts. Running back Kenneth Walker was MVP. We talked about him last week in our preview, 135 yards rushing, 26 receiving. So hats off to the Seahawks. They look strong across the board. We felt pretty comfortable about that one. Unfortunately, the Patriots just looked like the moment kind of got the best of them a little bit, and it made for a bit of a lackluster matchup, which is unfortunate. But I did see this stat, and I thought this was cool. Once again, the SEC led all conferences in Super Bowl representation. There were 30 players across both rosters in
Wow.
the Super Bowl that played their college ball in the SEC. The next closest conference, no surprise, the Big Ten with 25, but the SEC had the most. They have had the most every year since 2015.
Yeah, Super Bowl was,
Eh.
you know, just because the Patriots had 52 yards at halftime. 52 yards. I think their first 10 possessions, 9 was punts.
It was bad.
So, and to me, I was just so shocked that offensively with Josh McDaniels calling plays that there was no adjustments.
Mhm.
Like you see Will Campbell, who's a rookie, struggling at the left tackle position. I think they said 14 of the 19 pressures, he gave up 14. Like, you
Oh,
got to give the guy some help. Like, you gotta bring a
LSU
tight end
guy.
over to yeah, you gotta bring a tight end over to the side, or you gotta
Yeah,
bring the running back over there. You gotta chip. You gotta give him some help and everything. I was just shocked that they didn't make any adjustments until, like, basically the end of the 3rd quarter. They said, "Okay, let's just start going no huddle," and that kinda slowed down the rush a little bit of Seattle's, and so I was a little bit shocked because the Patriots defense played great. Like, they
yeah,
kept them in the ball game and gave them a chance for a long time.
agreed.
But their offense with the turnovers, the fumble, the interception, like it was just too much to overcome to compete against a complete team. I call Seattle a complete football team. Sam Darnold's a big reason why they made it to the Super Bowl, right? He had to outduel Matthew Stafford in the division NFC division championship game to
Mhm,
get to the Super Bowl. And then once he got to the Super Bowl, the defense and the run game carried him on from there
mhm.
and got the championship, right? So, and he was one of the, I think, one of only 1 or 2 quarterbacks in history to go through a complete playoffs with no turnovers. And what played
Wow.
him during the regular season was turnovers.
Yeah.
And what he did when he got to the playoffs, he didn't turn the football over not one time because he knew
Wow.
he had a great defense and a great run game. And as long as he didn't give the defense anything, I mean, get an opponent anything easy, they had a great chance to win a Super Bowl. So, shout out to Sam Darnold for his story and continue to compete, but also understanding the format, right?
Yeah.
But Kenneth Walker, when I listen to the guy's story, and he talks about his teammate that tore his ACL, got injured in the divisional round, his other running back. He said, "Man, I feel like I'm carrying his weight as well now, so I have a little bit extra to play for." But this
Yeah.
guy is so fast, he's so short and stout, and I think he said this is the first game his dad attended this year. Um,
Stop.
because his dad is afraid of large crowds. So,
Wow.
but he came to the Super Bowl, and he's the first running back to win the MVP of the Super Bowl since Terrell Davis did it for the Denver Broncos back in the 1990s. So think
Wow.
about how long that's been since a running back. Think of all the great running backs now
Yeah.
have hasn't won MVP.
Wow.
Like, that is crazy that
That
it's
is
been that
crazy.
long since a running back has gotten an MVP award. But honestly, their defense could have got it too as a team. Like,
For sure.
I don't know who you give it to. Like, so many guys showed up. Lawrence had a big day. Derek Hall, former Auburn guy, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble with a sack, right? Like, you got all kind of guys was showing up on that side of the ball. I'm talking about
Yeah.
these guys was humming.
Yeah.
And uh, they could have picked any one of them to get an MVP too, but rightfully so, Kenneth Walker got it. But that defense, man, and they're young. Like this team
I
is young.
know.
They got a young coach, 38 years of age, went to high school right here in Roswell, Atlanta,
Pretty
Centennial High
cool.
School. Yeah, Centennial High School. And all of a sudden you watch when they won the game. I always like to see people expressions, right? When they won the Super Bowl, the guy kind of just sat there and he looked around, like taking it all
Just
in
took it in. Yeah. I saw that.
because Taylor, there's no guarantee you get back to the Super Bowl.
No.
Everybody always think, oh, you'll just get back. No, you may only get one shot in 20 years.
Yep.
And he made sure he took it all in and everything. And to me, I really like him as a coach, man. He seems energetic. He
Yeah.
seems to have his heart and his mind in the right place. And
Agreed.
no better team to win it than Seattle. They was a deserving team. But I will say that if you're Houston, you're Baltimore, if you're Buffalo, if you're Denver, how sick were you sitting at home watching the Patriots play that ball game, knowing,
Knowing.
knowing that you're a better football team than they
Yeah.
are? And they just got kind of breaks in the playoffs to get themselves to the championship game.
Yep.
But you were the better team, and you had to sit there and watch that performance, and there's nothing you can do about it. That hurts. That hurts more.
Yeah. You know who it probably really hurts?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who?
Denver.
But specifically.
Yeah, Bo
I
Nix.
knew you were going to know what I was saying. We have telepathy now.
Yeah, Bo Nix.
Bo has to just be sick over it. No disrespect to Jarrett Stidham. And obviously, like, that game was such a tough draw because of the
Yeah,
blizzard that literally came from heaven. Like, it just fell out of the sky all of a sudden. But, like, the reality that had Bo been playing that game, they probably would have been able to pull it off. And then I do think that Denver would have had a much better showing in the Super Bowl than the Pats. Like, that, Bo must feel sick over that.
yeah, and Houston too. Like
Yeah.
Houston shut down pretty much the Patriots. They had 4 turnovers
Yeah.
in that ball game. Like you can't go and win those games that way. But
I
Buffalo,
know.
if Buffalo wins the Denver game, like think about it.
I
You
know.
catch the ball, but then all of a sudden it ends up as an interception.
Yeah.
So you're a catch away from kicking a field goal to finally get Buffalo over the hump. There's no Kansas City this year. So
Right.
Mahomes has been
How
your
refreshing
Achilles
was
heel.
that?
Yes. There's no Kansas City. This was your
Right.
shot.
It's
And then
your
you catch
year.
that, you kick a field goal, you win the game, and now you get a chance to play against a formidable foe that
Yeah.
you see twice a year in your division with a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So there's multiple teams. Josh Allen, Bo Nix, both
Yeah.
were probably sick, right? But then if you're Baltimore, how you let Pittsburgh beat you in the last game of the year because you have a run game and you have a quarterback that can be dynamic, but you didn't even get in the playoffs and you lost your head coach. So there's so much to unravel, but you have to be sickening to sit there and watch and say, we're a better football team. Now, kudos
Yeah.
to the Patriots. They did what they had to do to
For
make it.
sure.
We're
Yep.
not one of the top 4 best teams in the AFC.
I
But it
know.
goes to show you have to be the best on the days that matter, not
Yeah.
on paper.
Absolutely. And you have to be equipped to overcome adversity and obstacles that are guaranteed to surface, especially the further you get into season. But what it also means is that so many of these teams are going to be hungry as heck heading into this year, feeling like it was right within reach. So, a lot of exciting things to enjoy right now and also to look forward to as we get into off season, spring ball, what have you. So, that is going to do it for us here on SEC State of Mind. Thanks so much for listening. The next couple of months, our goal is to get several guest interviews. So if you are listening to this, please do us a solid and either leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching this or message one of us on Instagram any ideas of people that you would like to hear from, whether it's coaches, current players, former players, staffers. If you want to try and get a GM, if you're curious what that process looks like y'all please give us some sort of insight into what kind of guest interviews y'all would be interested in and any specific people. And we're going to try and effort those here in the football off season. So we definitely would appreciate a little bit of insight on that from you guys. And while you're there, what?
Said I got one.
Okay.
It's not who you think it is.
Well, Jay, okay, what?
There you go. Just say Jason. What? Who is it? Just say who is
Go
it.
ahead.
Thank you. Gus Malzahn.
Oh, we could definitely get Gus. I love Gus very much, and I'd love to hear how retirement's treating him. Honestly, we should get a dual interview with him and Bruce, and they're probably both kicking back, having a Mai Tai at Lake Martin or something. That would be hilarious. But yeah, we could definitely effort that. So want to get some insight from our listeners who y'all would like to hear from, and we're going to put in the legwork to try and get some of those scheduled as well. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We are available wherever you get your podcast. That is Spotify, iHeart, podcast app, Believe's website. And then if you prefer video format, you can find us on Believe's YouTube channel. There is a podcast playlist that has every single episode that we've ever done. So you can find us on either platform. And we so appreciate you guys listening. And we'll be back next week to discuss whatever happens. We'll see ya.
Peace.